Hey guys, and welcome back. My name is MrCaproni. Today I'm going to be covering some sections of the ASVAB test. Now, I've had some students asking about this, so I'm going to put out some content, but if you didn't know, this is the military entrance exam for the USA, and there's 10 sections on that test, and 3 of them are extremely mathematically heavy. So today we're going to be looking at the arithmetic reasoning, and over the next few weeks, maybe I'll cover some of the other topics as well. Without further ado, let's dive right in.
So first question, it says, if a car is towed 12 miles to the repair shop and the tow charge is $3.50 per mile, how much does the tow cost? Well, if you are charging $3.50 per mile and you're traveling 12 miles, all we have to do here is do the $3.50 times 12. Now, when you multiply this out, that's going to end up giving you 42. Therefore, the answer to this first question is C. Now, looking at the second question, the sum of the two numbers is 70. One number is 8 more than the other. What's the smaller number? So in this case, we want to set up a bit of an algebra equation here. So we're going to say that x is the smaller number, and that means that x plus 8 is the larger number. Now, it says that the sum of the two numbers is 70, so when we add these together, that should give us 70. And this is going to help us solve for x, finding our smaller number. So in this case, we're going to combine like terms. X plus x is 2x, plus the 8 equals 70. Then we're going to subtract the 8 from both sides, giving us 2x equals 62. And then we're going to divide both sides by that 2 to give us that x is equal to 31. So the answer here is A. So number 3 on the ASVAB here says that a sales manager buys antacids in bottles by the gross. If he goes through 3 bottles of antacids every day, how long will the gross last? Well, a gross, if you didn't know, is a 12 by 12 skid. So that means that there's a total of 12 times 12, which is 144 bottles in this case. Now, we want to know if he goes through 3 bottles every day, how long will it last? Well, that just means we need to do the 144 divided by 3. And when you do 144 divided by 3, you end up getting 48 days, which is option D. Moving on to number 4 here, it says that Jenny's test grades are 93, 89, 96, and 98. If she wishes to raise her average to a 95, what does she need to score on her next test? So here's the deal. We know that average is found by taking your 5 numbers, adding them together, and dividing by 5. So in this case, we have 89 plus 96 plus 98 plus some mystery number that we don't know. And when we know that we divide this by 5, we want an average of a 95. So in this case, we're going to start off by multiplying the 5 to the other side. When we do 95 times 5, that's going to end up giving us 475. So that means we now have these numbers added together is going to be equal to 475. So now I want to find out what all of these numbers added together are. So if I do 93 plus 89 plus 96 plus 98, that's going to give me a total of 376. And when I add that to our mystery number here, it should give us 475. Now what I'm going to do is go ahead and subtract that 376 from both sides. And that's going to end up giving us a final answer of B, 99. Let's go ahead and jump back up here to number 5. It says that a waitress earns an average tip of 12% of the cost of food she serves. If she serves $375 worth of food in one evening, how much money on tips will she earn on average? So we need to find out what 12% of 375 is. If you did not know, you can find a percent by taking the whole number, so in this case 375, and multiplying it by the decimal form of the percent, so in this case 0.12. Now, when we go ahead and multiply this out, we end up getting 45, which is answer B. Let's go ahead and move on to number 6 here. It says, how many square feet of carpeting are needed to carpet a 12 by 12 room? So in this case, we just want to know the area of a square carpet. So if it's a 12 by 12, well, square is just a rectangle. So this is length times width. So 12 times 12 is just going to give us 144, which is answer D. So for number 7, it says that a stain protector costs 65 cents per square yard to apply. How much will it cost to apply to protect a 16 by 18 foot carpet? So here's the deal. We do need to make sure first off we recognize that it says feet here and yards here. So the first thing I'm going to do is find the area of this carpet. Now that just means that we're going to do length times width, which would be 16 times 18, and that's going to give me 288. Now we need to convert this feet into yards. There are 3 feet per yard, but because we're dealing with squared feet, we need to make sure we square that conversion of 3. So 3 squared is 9. That means we're going to be dividing this by 9 to get it into yards. 288 divided by 9 is 32, so that means we're dealing with 32 yards squared here. Now it is 65 cents per yard, so we're just going to multiply this by 0.65, and that's going to give us a final answer of 20.8. In other words, answer C. Now, number 8 says that a printing plant that produces baseball cards has a monthly overhead of $6,000. It costs 18 cents to print them, and then they sell them for 30 cents. And they want to know how many of these they would have to sell in order for this place to make a profit. So in other words, we have to see how many cards it would be before we make $6,000. Well, if they print for 18 cents, but they sell for 30 minus 18 tells us that we are making 12 cents per card. So essentially, we have to know how many 12 cents it would take to get to 6,000. So I'm just going to do 6,000 divided by 0.12, which is that 12 cents. When we do 6,000 divided by 0.12, that ends up giving us 50,000, which is option C. Number 9 says Joe received an hourly wage of $8.15. His boss gave him a 7% raise. How much does Joe make per hour now? So here's the deal. There's 2 ways you can do this. You can either find 7% of $8.15 by doing 0.07 times that, and then you would have to add that to the $8.15 to find the new one. Or you can just say, well, his new one is actually 107%, which would be 1.07 as a decimal, and you're going to multiply that by the 8.15, because then you'll be finding 107% of this, and that would be his new wage. When you multiply that out, it gives you 8.7205, and the closest answer to that is C. So number 10 says that Alice is leaving her house and she's driving 45 miles per hour, and a half hour later her husband leaves and tries to catch up with her. And we need to know how fast must he go to catch up 3 hours later. So first off, we got to figure out how far Alice made it in that 30 minutes. Well, this is 45 miles per hour, so half of that is going to tell us how far she made it in a half hour. So half of 45 is going to be 22.5. Now we have to find out how he can make up that distance in 3 hours. Well, if we just divide it by 3, we'll see how fast he has to be adding to her speed to catch up. So if I do 22.5 divided by 3, that's going to give me 7.5. So he has to be going 7.5 miles per hour faster than her. So we need to do that plus the 45 that she did, and that's going to end up giving us a total of 52.5, which is going to be answer C. Number 11 is a fraction question. So it says a baker made 20 pies, and then we get a list of people that have bought the pies. One person bought 1/4 of the pies, one person bought 1/3 of the total pies, and one person bought 1/6 of the total pies. And they want to know how many they have left. So we're going to have to find this answer and then subtract it from the whole. Well, if I want to add these together, we do need to find a common denominator. In this case, 12 is evenly divisible by all of them. So let's go ahead and switch these all to fractions with 12 on the bottom. Once we have 12 on the bottom with all of them, we can easily add them together. So 4 times 3 gives me 12, so it's going to be 3 times the one on top as well, because you have to multiply it by a form of 1. 1/3, well, multiplied by 4/4 would make that 4/12. And this one's just going to end up being 1/6 would be multiplied by 2. So that's going to give us a total of 3 plus 4, which is 7, plus another 2, which is 9/12. Now, if we reduce that down, we could see that that's 3/4 or 75%. So what is 75% of the 20? That would be 15 pies sold, meaning that there are 5 left over. Answer D. For number 12, it says that Miriam bought 5 cases of motor oil on sale. Now, usually they're $24. In this case, they were $22.50, and they want to know how much did she save on the entire purchase. But she did 5 of them. So first off, I'm just going to do 24 minus that $22.50, and that gives you $1.50. That's her saving on each one of these cases. So if I multiply that by 5, we would get her grand total amount of savings. Well, 150 times 5 is 750, which means our final answer here is A. So for number 13, a security guard walks the equivalent of 6 city blocks when he makes a circuit around the building. He walks at a pace of 8 city blocks every 30 minutes, and they want to know how long it would take him to go around the building if he doesn't run into any thieves. Okay, thieves. All right, from there, let's figure out first off how fast he actually goes. So I'm going to see how long it takes him to go 1 block. I'm going to do that by doing 30 divided by 8. Now, when I do the 30 divided by 8, that's going to end up giving me an answer of 3.75 minutes. Well, we want to know how long it'll take him to do 6 of those, so I'm going to multiply that by 6, and that's going to end up giving us a final answer of 22.50 minutes, which is going to be answer C. Number 14 says the population of Grand Island, Nebraska grew by 600,000 people between these 10 years, 1/5 more than the town council predicted, and they want to know what was the town council's prediction. Well, here's the deal. They said that this number right here is 1/5 more than the prediction. Now, if you didn't know, 1/5 is the same thing as 20%, or 0.20. So here's what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to say, all right, well, we know that 600,000 was actually equal to 120% times the prediction. So that's going to be 1.20, 120, because you moved the decimal over twice to switch it, and that's going to be just times whatever that original prediction was, which means if I want to find out the original prediction, I would just do 600,000 divided by that 1.2. And when you do that division, it's going to end up giving you a final answer of 500,000. So number 15 isn't too bad, it's just a conversion question. It says here you have to get at least 40 of 60 questions correct to pass, and they want to know what percent that would be. So all I really need to do is 40 out of the 60 questions and figure out what that is as a percent. Well, we can go ahead and divide the top and bottom by 10, and that's going to give me 4/6, and both of those you can divide by 2, so that's going to reduce down to 2/3. And if you didn't know, 1/3 is just 0.3 repeated, so 2/3 is going to be 0.6 repeated, which means it's 0.666666 over and over and over again. So that means it's either C or D. Now 1/3 we just said was 0.3 repeated, so that means that the 2/3 has to be our answer, D.
You're officially there, so go ahead and take a hot second for a break. We did the first 15. We'll knock out the next 15 in a second. Remember, if you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit that like button below to let me know you're getting something out of this content. Also, leave me a comment below. Do you want to see the other parts of this test as well? There's the mathematical knowledge. There's some other spatial reasoning stuff. I'll go ahead and cover that content, but if you're getting a lot out of this, please let me know so I know that content is worthwhile. With that said, let's go ahead and dive right back in.
For number 16, it says that a teacher deposits $3,000 in a retirement fund that's making 6% interest rate per year. How much money will she have saved in a year? Well, she's going to have that $3,000, but here's the deal. Since we get the 6% added on, we can either find 6% of this by multiplying by 0.06 and then adding it back to it, or we can go ahead and just multiply 3,000 by 1.06 because it would be 106%, and that would give us our final answer. If we do this multiplication out, it's going to end up giving us 3,180, which is answer C. For number 17, it says that a high school track measures 1/4 of a mile around, so how many laps would you have to do to get to 3.5 miles? Well, a quarter means 1/4 of the whole. So that means you would have to go around 4 times to equal 1 mile, and you'd have to go around 2 times to equal a 1/2 mile. So if that's the case, we're trying to go 3.5. So 3 times 4 is going to be a total of 12 laps. And then you'd have to go another 2 times around to get to that 1/2. So that means you're going to be doing the 12 plus another 2 is a total of 14, which is answer B. For number 18, it says that Carl's driving in Austria where the speed limit is posted in kilometers, because, in America we don't know what the heck that is. It says that he's traveling at 75 kilometers per mile, and he knows that a kilometer is about 5/8 of a mile. So how fast is he going in miles per hour? Well, this just means that if he's going 75, and we know that for every 1, it would be 5/8 of a mile, every 1 kilometer. So we're just going to multiply that whole thing by 5/8. Now, if I do go ahead and do this in 2 steps, I'm going to do 75 times that 5 first. If I go about doing that, it's going to give me 375. Then I might have a better chance of dividing that by 8 if we're doing this in our head. So 375 divided by that 8, though, is going to give us a final answer of about 46.8. And that's going to be closest to answer A, 47. For number 19, it says a carpenter earns $12.30 an hour for 40-hour work week. It says that if he goes over those 40 hours, he gets paid time and a half. And it says he put in 46 hours this week, so how much is he getting paid? So in this case, first off, we got to start off with his normal pay. The $12.30 an hour for 40 hours a week. So I'm going to multiply $12.30 by 40, so we're just going to multiply them together, and that's going to give me $492. Now from there, we have to find out his time and a half pay. You could find half of $12.30, which would just be $6.15, add that back to this number to get our time and a half. Or you could just do 1.5 times that and it would give you the same answer. In either case, that's going to give us $18.45. Now I'm going to go ahead and multiply that by the 6 hours he went over his normal 40. So now that's the time and a half pay, and he did 6 hours of that. And when we multiply those two together, we get $110.70. So that means that for the first 40, he made this much. For the 6 hours after that, he made this much. When we add the two of those together, it's going to give us our final answer of A, 602.70. For number 20, it says that an office building has 30 employees and provides 42 square feet of workspace per employee. Now, how much total workspace is that? Well, 30 times the 42 will give us that total. So what is 30 times 42? The answer to that is going to be 1,260. So that's the total amount of space they have here. Now they are going to add 5 more employees to this company, and then they want to know how much less workspace each employee will have. Well, this is the total amount of space they have, so if they add 5 more, that puts them at 35 employees. So if I divide that number by 35, it would give me the amount of space for each employee. Well, 1,260 divided by 35 is 36. Now they originally had 42, so if I do 42 minus that 36, it'll tell me the difference between the amount of workspace they each have, and that answer is 6, which is answer A. Stan bought a monster truck for $2,000 and then made payments of $450 a month for 5 years. What's the total cost of this truck? Well, first off, he's doing $450 a month for 5 years. So how many months are there in a year? 12. So I'm going to go ahead and do 12 times 5 to tell me how many total months that is, because there's 5 years here. When you multiply those together, you get 60, and we're paying $450 per month for all 60 of those months. So I'm going to multiply that by 450. When we multiply that out, we're going to end up with $27,000, and we still have that initial $2,000 that we paid for the down payment. So add $2,000 to that and we end up getting $29,000, which is answer B. Number 22 is a very basic averages question. So it says here that Darla spent $120.37 in January, $108.45 in February, and $114.86 in March. What was the average monthly cost of Darla's groceries? Well, here's the deal. That just means we have to add the 3 of these together and then divide by 3 to find the average. Now, if I take these 3 numbers and add them together, it gives me a total of $343.68. From there, we do still have to divide by 3 to find our average, and that gives us $114.56, which is answer D. Number 23 says that Keith is driving from Reno to Kansas City to meet his girlfriend. It says that the distance between those two is 1,650 miles, and he's going 50 miles per hour on average. So how long should it take him to complete this trip? Well, if he's going 50 miles per hour for a total of 1,650 miles, then we just need to do this divided by that 50, and it should tell us how many hours. So 1,650 divided by that 50 is going to end up giving us 33. So the answer here is C. Michael needs 55 gallons of paint to paint an apartment building, and he wants to know which one of these will be the best deal possible. Well, for A, it says 2 25-gallon buckets. We can stop right there because 2 times 25 is 50, so it doesn't meet the 55 we need. For this one, it says 11 5-gallon buckets at $108 each. So we would do 11 times that $108 to get the price of $11.88. For this next one, it says 6 10-gallon buckets, which is 60, but that's over our 55, at $2.15 each. So we would do 6 times the $2.15, and that would give us $12.90. And for the last one, 55 1-gallon buckets, that means we would do 55 times that 23, and that's going to give us $12.65. Out of these 3 numbers, you can see that B is the best option. Number 25 on the ASVAB actually requires quite a bit of knowledge. So it says that you're a member of FEMA, all right, you're trying to give food to people for disaster relief. It says that a breakfast weighs 12 ounces and then lunch and dinner both weigh 18 ounces. It says that you're trying to see how many people you could feed those 3 meals a day for 10 days if you have a truck that can carry 3 tons. Now, first off, let's find out how much a single person would take. If I do 12 plus 18 plus another 18 for lunch and then dinner, that gives me a total of 48 ounces. We then are doing that for 10 days, so each person would require 480 ounces. Now here's the trick, is how many ounces are in a ton? If you didn't know, 1 ton is equal to 32,000 ounces. Now, that means that if we have 3 of them, we actually have 96,000 ounces to work with. And when we divide that by the 480 that it would take per person for the 10-day span, that gives us a final answer of 200 residents. Option B. 26 is like the opposite of that confusing question with trains running into each other. It says that one train is heading south for Wichita and the other train is heading north for Des Moines. Now it says that they leave at the same time. The Wichita one's going 55 miles per hour, the Des Moines one is going 70 miles per hour, and they want to know how far apart they'll be at the end of 3 hours. Well, they're going in opposite directions here. So if the one's going 55 miles per hour for 3 hours, that would just be 55 times 3, which is going to give us 165. And the other one is going 70 miles per hour times the 3 hours is going to be going a total of 210. So how far are they apart? Well, we just add those two together since they're going in opposite directions. And that gives us a final answer of 375, which is answer D. Number 27, it says that a carpenter needs to cut 4 sections each of 3-foot 8-inch long pieces of molding, and they want to know the shortest length of board she can buy. Now, it is in feet, and it's not going to be an even answer here, so we just got to see what's the next highest up, because it has to be long enough to cover it all. So in this case, let's go through all of this. There's 4 of these sections, and first off, let's do the feet. There's 3 feet. 3 times 4 is 12. And then we have to multiply that by another 12 because there's 12 inches in a foot. So if I have 12 feet times the 12 to convert it into inches, that gives me 144 inches. Now there's also that 8 that we have 4 of those as well. So 8 inches times the 4 is going to give me a total of 32. Now that means that when added together, I have 176 inches to deal with. And when I divide that by 12, it gives me 14.6 repeated. So that means I would need at least 15 feet of board to make this happen. For 28, it says Kaya has only 1 coupon for 10% off a turkey breast, and she's buying 2 of them. They're $8.50 a piece, so what's the total amount she paid? Well, the coupon's only for the first one, and 10% of something is really easy to find because you just move the decimal place over once when you multiply by 0.10. So that means that she's getting 85 cents off the first turkey. So we got $8.50 minus that 0.85, and that's going to mean that the first turkey is going to cost her $7.65. Now, we still do need to add the second turkey at full price because she only has 1 turkey, meaning that the final answer to this question when adding the 2 of those together is going to give me $16.15, which is answer A. Number 29 gives you a bit of extra information. Let's check it out. It says that a recruitment officer travels 1,100 miles during a 40-hour work week. If she spends 2/5 of her time traveling, how many hours does she spend traveling? So this actually doesn't matter at all. We just care about the 40 hours and what's 2/5 of that. Well, remember, 2/5 is the same thing as 0.40 because 1/5 is 20%, so 2/5 would be 40%. So what is 40% of 40 hours? Well, if we do 0.40 times 40 to find out what that is, it would give us an answer of 16, which is answer C. 30 is just asking if you can make sense of the situation. Your car uses gasoline at a rate of 21 miles per gallon. Gasoline costs $2.82 per gallon. You drive for 7 hours at a speed of 48 miles per hour. How much will you pay for gasoline for the trip? First off, let's see how many total miles we are driving. We're going for 7 hours at 48 miles per hour. So that means 7 times 48, for how many miles we're traveling, is going to give us a total of 336 miles that will be traveled. Now, we use gasoline at a rate of 21 miles per gallon, so I'm going to divide this by 21 to see how many gallons we're going to need. 336 divided by 21 is 16. And then we know that that's $2.82 per gallon. So if I'm using 16 gallons, I'm going to multiply that by the 2.82, and that's going to give me a final cost of $45.12, which is answer B.
There you have it, 30 arithmetic reasoning questions done start to finish. Now remember, if you found this helpful at all, go ahead and hit that like button, but please, 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 please also share this with all of your friends. Anyone you know taking the ASVAB, let's get them this practice so that they can all do the best possible. Now, with that said, I'm going to be releasing other parts of this test as well, so make sure to hit the subscribe button. That way you can follow along for every section of this test. With that said, guys, remember, my name is MrCaproni, and you have a fantastic day.